Welcome back to Outspoken, where we don't just tiptoe around culture, we kick the door wide open. Today, we're asking a bold question. What if a society was actually built on Christianity? Not just lip service, not just in God we trust, stamped on money, but a community truly shaped by the ethics of Christ. So we did what most do today, and we asked Chat GPT.
So today we'll be imagining foundations like forgiveness, justice, humility, compassion, self-sacrifice, family, and of course treating people as image bearers of God through the knowledge of artificial intelligence. The results will surprise you. According to AI, even non-Christians would thrive. Safety, fairness, community, dignity, those aren't Christian perks. They're the natural outflow when love for neighbor becomes a law of the land.
So buckle up, because today we're diving into what society could look like if we actually lived out the teachings we love to preach through the eyes of AI. This is Outspoken. So before we get started, make sure and smash that like button, subscribe to Outspoken, share the show with everyone you know, and hit that bell icon to get updated when we upload new episodes. Let's get into this. All right, guys, welcome back. You've seen this on other podcasts. The question comes up, I'd ask Joe right now, hey, if you were the devil, how would you take control of society? If society was genuinely built on Christianity, not just in name, but in practice, you'd see certain foundations: forgiveness, justice, humility, compassion, self-sacrifice, family, and valuing people as image bearers of God. Those are things that benefit everyone, believer or not. Non-Christians would still enjoy safety, fairness, and community because of the ethic of Christ is to love neighbors, period.
Here's the kicker. Whether non-Christians would feel happy depends on what they value. And we've talked about this in the past. If they crave freedom from moral restraints like sexual liberation, self-centered living, power, or status, they'll feel restricted in a Christian society. Christianity naturally checks ego and selfishness. If they desire meaning, peace, justice, and belonging, they'd thrive, because those are the fruits of a society actually shaped by the teachings of Christ. So yes, non-Christians would be happy, but not because their worldview is affirmed, rather because they're living under a system of values that protects human dignity and curbs chaos. In other words, they'd benefit from the shade of a tree they didn't plant.
So now we're going to break it down into 6 categories based on the answers of AI. This was interesting. So asking AI questions about how it would perform as the devil, and take over society.
Well, you've seen that, right? When people do that, they'll ask questions like, if you were the devil, AI, how would you take control? And of course, the scary part about it, I think, is that the answers it gives is what's happening today, right? We're seeing. So everybody's like, oh my God, I heard it, I tested it, I'm thinking, okay, it is. That's weird. So, but then I asked, okay, AI, let's take it another step. If we were to live in a Christian-based nation where the Constitution still is in play, but it's grounded on Christianity, would non-Christians thrive? That was my question. And of course, AI did its thing, and it gave me some responses that I'm like, oh, this is going to hurt those non-believers,
right?
But it's going to put them in check. And I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. So the very first one was law and justice. Rooted in fairness, truth-telling, and proportional justice, no corruption, no favoritism. Forgiveness wouldn't erase justice, but mercy would temper harshness. Non-Christians' benefits would be safer streets, honest courts, and no elite passes.
So basically what AI did was I told it, hey, how would they function? So would AI say, I'm going to give you the pros. These are the pros. And then the pros for non-Christians as well. And then at the end, we'll of course talk about how does that look overall? You're right? Because Christianity is based on fairness, on law and justice. And just because God loves you doesn't mean he's not just. Clearly, you have to pay.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's the way society works. So the next one they brought up was family and community. So the pros on having a Christian-based society is marriage and family would be honored as the cornerstone of society. Children would be seen as blessings and not burdens, right? Because we see that all the time out there, people, what they say. The lonely, the widowed, or the poor wouldn't be left behind. The community as a whole would support them. And I'm not just talking financially, we're talking emotionally, spiritual, things of that nature. So how would non-Christians benefit? They'd have a strong social safety net and real community bonds. And that's important.
Yeah, one of the things in olden times, the whole belief belief was a community. It takes a village to raise a child, right? That was a saying that came out many moons ago. And part of that was that, yes, you have your family, right? Your mom and dad and maybe brothers and sisters. A lot of folks live together. So uncles and aunts and all them, and they all helped instill the values that that family already had in that child. To take it another step, everybody in that community went to the same church, this little neighborhood church. And so now you had other people that weren't part of your family that also helped raise your child with the same values system. And then you had the schools that were of your community, the teachers, they were your neighbors and everything. All of this helped get the kids raised with a good foundation. One of the next ones that Joe put in, it actually brought up economy and work. The Christian side of things would be no exploitation of workers, no cheating the vulnerable, hard work and stewardship would be praised, and greed would be condemned. Wealth would exist, but generosity would keep poverty from being crushing. So how would the non-Christians benefit? With fair wages, honest trade, generosity, and hard times.
The non-Christian believers would benefit just as much as everybody else. And again, we're talking about a Christian society where we all live together in harmony. In doing so, our egos are checked at the door, right? We talked about this earlier. Our selfishness, all those things are curbed. You're not going to get away with what normally in society we get away with. If you read the letters of Paul, one of the things that they did was they had to fund themselves. They did manual labor. Paul did manual labor. Now, of course, as an elder, he could have easily gotten money from people, donated to him to continue his stewardship, to continue the spreading of God's word. But instead, he chose hard work because that was his example. Because in the Bible, it says that's what we do, right? And so there's no lazy people in a Christian society. We all have to put in to get out what we need. So the next one that kicked out was culture and entertainment. Living again in a Christian society, how does that look like? Art, music, and literature would celebrate truth, beauty, and virtue, not glorify sin, which is a big key thing. Freedom of expression, yes, but not a celebration of degradation, which is, again, very important. And we see a lot of that happening in social media. So now we ask, how do non-Christians benefit? Cleaner, uplifting culture, even if they miss the edginess of rebellion. They might miss it, but they're really going to flavor that cleaner, uplifting culture that they get to live in, right?
That's right. Yeah. So far, we're into the fourth line of the subjects, right? I haven't seen anything that would be horrible. Now, the only thing that you would lose as a non-Christian would be probably the ultimate sinfulness things, right? You wouldn't be doing those things. It doesn't sound like a horrible society to me. Christianity never forces belief. True faith can't be coerced. Non-Christians would have freedom to live and believe as they wish, as long as it didn't trample others. But here's the rub. Society wouldn't celebrate sin. That tension could feel restrictive to some.
That's a doozy. That's going to be like a no for a lot of liberals, right? Or a lot of the lefties, or a lot of non-believers. Let's take away the politics on it. And I apologize for that, but the non-believers are going to get impacted by that. Why? Because they're all about being affirmed, right? And affirming their feelings, affirming their what they believe in. In a Christian, correct, selfishness, which in a Christian society does not exist. So that's important. And again, I don't see nothing wrong here.
I don't see nothing wrong.
And that's important, right? Because the last one, daily life. How does daily life in a Christian community, a nation look like? People would strive to forgive quickly, right? Keep their word and live humbly, which is fantastic. Gossip, lying, exploitation would be called out, right? Not normalized. They'll be calling you, so you'd be like, little Susie, you shouldn't be spreading those lies. And how would the non-Christians benefit? And this one really threw me because I'm thinking, how would they benefit? They'd live off of gossiping, lying, and all these other things. Well, they'd benefit because trustworthy neighbors, right? That means they could leave their doors open and not worry about getting robbed. Safer relationships, and of course, less betrayal. Can you imagine that? A society where you don't have to watch your back because the person you thought was your friend is likely to betray you? Right. That is crazy. I think that's a beautiful thing, Jay.
It is.
Call me crazy.
Crime statistics will tell you that most crimes that happen, even stuff like kidnapping and these kind of things, this ends up being somebody that you know, somebody that's close to you, family members, distant family members, right? Those are all those kind of things that would definitely be beneficial, is to not have a society where folks are evil like that. And the other thing is, so safer relationships, less betrayal, that kind of thing. People want a godly society, but they don't want to have to answer to God themselves, right? So again, we've created this me society that as long as I can do what I feel and how I feel and everything's good. But when you have everybody doing that, that's what creates what we have now. That's why everybody thinks it's okay to cheat on one another, because it's okay. It doesn't feel good when you get cheated on, but you feel that because it's me, I can do that to somebody else. So this is something that I don't think...
They want to reap the benefits, but they don't want to...
Absolutely. The bottom line is non-Christians would enjoy peace, fairness, safety, and dignity, but they wouldn't get society to affirm every lifestyle or desire. That's where some would chaff.
It's basically the difference between living a clean, well-run house with rules versus a chaotic house where everyone does what they want. Both have freedom, but only one is sustainable.
Man, I don't think there's a better way to end an episode than that. Look at what our children are growing up with and look at how we are giving them advice, how we're training them. The school systems are feeding them a bunch of nonsense. And most kids are not growing up with their parents. They're being taught by the government, right? By the school systems, by social media, and by television programming and stuff like that. So it's these things that we really need to take into account, really try to get back into a spiritual society where we put God first, even if you're not a religious person or what have you, to understand that society ran a lot better when we were a God-fearing society. You fear God first, and then as a child, you're supposed to respect your parents. And so parent-fearing, that has gone away. So we got God out first. Now we've got parents out because kids don't listen to their parents. They listen to social media and some professor that does not have the best interest for them at school. I don't even know how to end this one, Joe. I just say, before we get out of here, make sure and smash that like button, subscribe to Outspoken, share the show with everyone you know, and hit the bell icon to get updated when we upload new episodes. Make sure and take care of one another.
Do better, be better.
And as always, God bless America. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. Come back. Next Tuesday. Not now.
See ya. We're gone.